Many different cultures recognize the power that men hold over women. The term patriarchy is defined in our textbook in Chapter 11 on page 372 as an almost universally practiced social system in which structures social units so that men hold the majority of the resources and power. I think it's important to note that the book goes on to say that we can see this throughout history in respect to economic, political, and religious power. In my own words, patriarchy is a social system in which men hold the power, more specifically, hold the power over women. There are many lasting effects from this kind of system that have been historically used in many different cultures. I believe that I had some misconceptions of what the term patriarchy is before reading about it in our book. What helped me mostly pass these misconceptions were the examples given throughout the book and through further research. In the past, patriarchal systems have caused women's issues such as a limited education access, a lower quality of health care, a decreased amount of economic opportunities, and a typically more restricted government and political involvement. The book gives us a few prominent examples of how we can see the lasting effects from patriarchy in our own societies in the United States. One popular culture example of the effects from patriarchal societies from the past have had on women now include the vast underrepresentation of women in American government. An example of the effect patriarchy has left on the workplace is the gender wage gap. From our book, who cites data coming from the United States in 2018, we learned that women on average earn less than 70% of that compared to a man in the same field. While I do think this gap has decreased, it's still a significant amount, as any gap is. We can really see how this affects women by looking at yearly earnings and on. Another example of how patriarchy affects women in today's world is seen in media and news. In many different countries, it is still very common for women to have varying restrictions or obstacles to get adequate education. From personal experience, I remember learning in history class that men were typically the leaders and held power in many different societies and countries. I'm hoping we've all had a similar experience of learning this and can relate to it. Women were not seen as fit for these roles. For a long time in the United States, women were seen as not fit or competent enough to be involved in politics at all. They had to fight for their right to vote. In conclusion, women have historically experienced a power inequality from men. In many different societies, this has had lasting effects in our own societies today. The societal power inequality where men hold the majority of the power is called patriarchy. There are many different examples where these effects can be seen in not only the past, but also the present time. It is important to understand how these issues affect women and men. I believe it is just as important to understand these things to understand the power dynamics between men and women in communication. Gender has a great effect on communication, and in order to control it, we must first understand it. Thank you.